Welcome to the Elselah Books podcast. Today, we're diving into this incredible mental framework for tackling, life's biggest challenges. And we're going to use a classic, timeless story of an underdog victory as our blueprint. Look, we all have them, our giants. They might not be 9 feet tall, but man, they can feel just as huge. Whether it's the pressure of bills you just can't pay, or maybe a past that you can't seem to shake, these things can really tower over us. This explainer is all about a new way to look at them, a new strategy for confronting them head on. All right, so to really get the solution, we first have to understand the problem. And the problem is our normal human gut reaction when we come face to face with something massive. It usually starts with just being frozen, being paralyzed, and we're about to see that in a really big way. Our source story paints a crazy vivid picture of the problem, and its name is Goliath. I mean, just look at these stats. He wasn't just big, he was designed to be terrifying. We're talking almost 10 feet tall, wearing 125 pounds of armor, and his voice just booming and taunting everyone. Every single detail was meant to cause pure, paralyzing fear. And this, right here, this is the totally natural human response, isn't it? When we focus only on the size of our problem, on its strength, on how loud it is, the result is almost always going to be fear. You've got an entire army of trained warriors totally frozen just from looking at their giant. But then, the whole story just pivots. Someone new walks onto the scene, and he sees the exact same situation, the same massive, intimidating giant, but he sees it through a totally different lens. So let's see how this one little shift in perspective changes absolutely everything. And that brings us to the key question. Really the heart of the whole thing. Let me ask you this directly. Is the giant all you see? Because how you answer that changes the game. Our story gives us 2 totally different answers, and no surprise, 2 totally different results. Okay, now this is so interesting. This slide breaks down the real conflict. It's not actually the army versus the giant. It's giant focus versus God focus. You see, the army was focused on an unbeatable problem. And what did they get? Fear. Paralysis. David, on the other hand, he focused on an unbeatable God. And what was the result? Courage and action. Same giant, completely different focus. This is just incredible. Think about this. David's very first words when he shows up, they're not about how tall the giant is or how heavy his armor is. No way. They're about how dare this guy defy something so much bigger, so much more powerful. He immediately reframes the whole fight by sizing up the giant against God, not the other way around. The source material even points out this fascinating ratio in what David says before the fight. It's like a mental scorecard. For every 2 thoughts he has about Goliath, he has 9 thoughts about God. His focus, his mental energy, it's just overwhelmingly on his source of strength, not the problem. He's making a choice to starve his fear and feed his faith. So what happens when this completely different way of thinking leads to courage and action? What's the result when a mind that is just filled to the brim with conviction and belief, what the source calls a God-saturated soul, finally goes up against a huge problem? Man, this is David's battle cry, and it is so powerful. He looks at the giant and says, yeah, I see your weapons, I see the sword, the spear, but then he declares his own weapon, which is so much bigger, his perspective, his faith. He's basically setting the terms of the fight right here. And then, instead of backing away like everybody else, David does the unthinkable. He runs towards his giant. He goes on offense. The sling swirls, the stone is let loose, and the battle that held an entire nation hostage for 40 days, it's over, just like that, in a matter of moments. So, here's the point, the really crucial part. The tool he used was tiny, just one smooth stone. The real weapon wasn't the rock, it was the God-sized perspective that launched it. If you take away only one thing, let it be this. This line is the heart of the entire idea. It's a command, a call to action. It's telling us to flip our internal script. Stop talking about how big the problem is. Start talking about how big your source of strength is. All right, so this isn't just some cool story from long ago. It's a practical mental model for us right now. So let's break down how we can actually apply this victorious mindset to the giants that we're all facing in our own lives. The source material really just boils it all down to this simple, direct choice. If you focus on your giants, the bills, the fears, the mistakes, you are the one who's going to stumble. But if you can shift that focus to your God, to a greater power, it's your giants that are going to tumble. Where you put your focus decides the outcome. And that's the question the story leaves us with, right? It's a choice about where you point your attention, and that choice determines who falls down. So which do you want to see tumble, you or your giants? Thank you for listening, and do subscribe to our channel for more.